You seem bothered by something.
How did we get here?
A CDMP TV and film presentation from Crazy D, the mind who brings you the Black Ice Chronicles, the Females DVD, and Situations DVD, brings you The Shifter. It's Halloween night at Crazy D's, and a pesky vamp is out for blood. Beware of the Shifter.
That's it. You gotta go beat it damn scram, man. Damn.
Why don't you be a doll and find me a place to change? I need a place to change my clothes before I go.
What? Don't try to hold me on the phone.
D! You been holding out on me?
I was just about to stop and help. You know I help the crackheads, D.
Some people just don't have originality with their outfits.
It's like I hear voices in my head talking to me and shit.
I saw that punk-ass Charles Pippen and his cousin leaving here.
I learned the grace pose. Get your camera ready.
We're here, like we said, for trick or treat. Crazy, what did you see? You seem bothered by something.
You see that shit?
Hey, that crazy fuck in there.
Oh, what the fuck that was for? Right.
Shit.
Can't stand that shit.
Well, who's the pit bitch?
Like, I
what
don't
the fuck was she need all hoes? I saw her to scratch that, poke that bitch eye.
Beware of the Shifter. Be at the premiere if you dare.
Are you gonna listen to the move?
I've been out the loop since '09.
Yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back to get at that, though. Check this. I'm at the motherfucking house last night. Guess what the fuck I see?
What you see?
Shamika, what's up?
Fuck you think you fucking with? It's Maxwell, bitch.
Fuck you in them shoes.
Bitch, I'm about to stalk you with these shoes.
I thought I told you to get a jump to Crazy D.
I did give it to Crazy D. You know, D, you must have seen money in that. You know, he used to produce those nudie DVDs.
Fuck you, thin man. I know you did it.
Don't let your mouth write a check, cause I will take it out on your ass. Damn, man. You serious?
I don't appreciate being roughed up by men. Or should I say, male bitches.
Yeah, you gonna work out.
And we look for young ladies like you to host them.
I look like somebody that can host your videos.
That's right. So go change, cause we ain't got all day.
Get off the house.
Really good, though. I'm doing that bullshit.
Crazy. What the hell? How you in my room?
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
What's going on, people? Welcome to another great episode of #ObservationTFR by Crazy D with my special guest host, my sister Tanya M. Congress. Let's check out the mic. Let's see how everything is going this morning. How you feeling this morning?
Feeling pretty good. I was up and ahead of the game this morning. It's a typical fall day here in Cleveland, Ohio. Kind of dreary. Looks like there's a chance of rain outside, but I'm doing okay. I'm plenty of sunshine. I am the sunshine. And so here's today. What do I have in this bowl today? I have, and I'm going to get this in front of the camera. Here we go. I have frozen strawberries and ginger. And of course, I have me a cup of barley water. I have it in this kind of cup this time, so you can't see the cloudiness of it, but it helps to flush the system out, especially if you're retaining water or anything like that. It helps to flush out, and it really does the job. And without you having to go to the bathroom every hour on the hour. So it's really amazing how that works. It took me a while to try that out. I had heard about it a few years ago, and I just never did it. But it is, and it's very inexpensive. You get, when you order the barley from Amazon, you get 3 packs for like $10, 3 bags for like $10. So it'll last you a while. But we have another exciting information-filled show for you today. And how you doing this morning, dear?
Hey, I'm doing as well as can be expected under the circumstances. I have my apple, I have my grapes. Can we get them there? Grapes and
grapes,
grapes. Bowl, So, it's pretty good. And just finished having my oatmeal this morning, thanks to my wife. So I appreciate that. With a little touch of honey and some more mixed nuts and vegetables. It's always, fruit. And it's always good. So, people. First, as always, we have to give shout out and drop outs to everyone watching us on Periscope, Vimeo, FB, and the Film Review Live channel on YouTube. Make sure you go to the Film Review Live channel and smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, leave the comments in the comment section. We will read them live on the air. Also on FB. Make sure that you friend, like, share, friend, like, follow all of the pages, and so that we can stay in contact with you, so you will know when we are on, right? So what is today's topic? Well, it's part 2. It's part 2 to yesterday's phenomenal show that was information filled. Part 2, possibilities and probabilities, the disagreeable bandmate. That's right. Part 2, possibilities and probabilities, the disagreeable bandmate. And what do we mean by that? It's the last thing you want is that monkey on your back, but the pressures placed on an individual to deliver in show business, the music industry, is tremendous. Yet bright-eyed, bushy-tailed newcomers venture into the trappings of the business called show. But are the strong the only ones who survive? What if you are not willing to go along with the demands on your body and soul? What are the possibilities and probabilities as an individual outside of the team? What about the disagreeable bandmate? Let's discuss. The phone lines are open, 213-943-3358. If you have ever been a disagreeable bandmate in the music business, in the industry, call up 213-943-3358. So listen, yesterday we talked about many things yesterday that had to do with situations that happen in the industry, right? And of course, we started, talking about, of course, the music that, was put out during the time between 1990 and 1996. We just touched on it a little bit. The music that was put out by yours truly, as you hear it playing in the back there. Also, we talked to my sister Tanya, because at the same time, in the span of 1990 to 93, my sister was at the College of Music in Berkeley in Boston, Massachusetts, right? And she had went on tour with this Euro dance group called Snap, with the lead vocalist being Turbo B, right? And so we started in telling a parallel story of music business, music success, and how it could have all culminated in 1993 at a turkey jam where my sister potentially would have already been on tour with Tony, and would have been able to say, when that mixtape went across, oh, that's my brother, bring him back, and then the whole trajectory would have been different. Smash the share button, smash the like button as we go through this. But what about the disagreeable bandmate? What about the disagreeable bandmate? We have always seen those and heard about those. The disagreeable bandmate. Tanya, would you say that you were a disagreeable bandmate? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. So now we're going to get to it. But as usual, we have to start with some memes, right? That was a brief recap of what we were talking about yesterday as we move forward. Now, we have to get into a mind state and not a mindset. So let's start right here. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Alvin Toffler, right? That's his viewpoint on the 21st century, right? And as we discussed, my sister discussed coming from the traditional bands where there were multiple instruments to play to make the sound, bringing it down to when she went on tour with Snap, it was MIDI, which is basically slaving multiple instruments, a drum machine, a keyboard, something else, and you can slave it together through MIDI to build your sound, and you eliminate the horn section, you eliminate the guitar section, you eliminate even the drummer if necessary, and you have it all in one box controlling everything. Is that correct? Is that what you ran into when you were first introduced to Snap? And tell them what Euro dance is.
Euro dance is a spinoff of, it's a cross between disco and house, kinda, and it's the European version of it. So it's very, let's see, you're talking about maybe 130 RPMs. So it's pretty, do. Now, Snap's music wasn't going at that RPM, but they were falling right in the middle of it. They had a very strange sound, and that sound was kind of prevalent at that time between several groups like Mantronics and Two in a Room and CNC Music Factory, all Black Box, all those groups like that. They had that sound, and it was electronic. It was a lot of electronics mixed with other, mostly keyboard stuff, keyboard and drum machine, and you know, this MIDI instruments like Dee was describing. Now, on the tour that we were on, you had a drummer, you had a bass player, a guitar player, 2 keyboard players, yet the music itself did not lend itself to that type of band. And so there was a discrepancy going on, because Turbo, he wanted a band, and he also is a drummer himself. So he wanted a band, and so he was integrating this sound. And I don't know, I didn't get a chance to read the reviews at the places we were at. I know all of them were not good, because people were expecting that Euro sound they were hearing on the videos. And so they weren't exactly getting that on the tour, even though we had some of that stuff going on with slaving the keyboards and getting some of the sounds like that. That was coming through. That was actually a sample. And all you had to do, I could have played that live, but you hit a button and it just played. It was a sample. So at the time, I was getting used to, I was crossing over into that other set, because I came from the era where it was no MIDI. Everything, every instrument was up there. You got a percussionist with several percussion instruments. So I came from that era, and so I was integrating into that era. But it was an experience, but it was some discrepancies on several different levels on that particular tour. And I'll stop there and we can pick back up.
Yeah. So look, people, the grueling nature of the industry, the business of show and the business of music, the music business, the business of music, the music business, the show business of show, it has a grueling nature to it, right? And this has been circulating, this meme has been circulating. You're going to say, Crazy D, what does this have to do with the story, of your sister's story with Snap, Turbo B, the Euro dance sound, touring around the world? What does this have to do, going from Japan to Australia, etc., traveling back to the States? What does that have to do? What does Wendy Williams, former DJ Booth, says, y'all have no idea what's really going on concerning the talk show host. Then the person who is concerned writes underneath the image of Booth and Wendy Williams, Wendy, you need to stop your show and seriously get help. Your camp is just watching you spiral instead of sending help. Shame on them. I'll be boycotting the show until you get checked into rehab. Drugs will kill you. Please get help. Underneath, Bevy says, she don't listen to them. Probably why DJ Booth left the show. And then DJ Booth comments. And let me see if I can see it. There it is. He says, yep, exactly. And it will all come out. Y'all have no idea what's really going on. And everyone there is afraid to speak out because they don't want to lose their jobs. This is going to play out bad. I feel sorry for the workers and victims. Have a blessed day. So he, as an individual, could not stick around and watch his friend spiral out of control, right? So what D, what does this have to do? You're talking about the music industry, show business, business of show, business of music. What does this have to do with your sisters touring with Snap and potentially being able to tour with Tony, and why she ultimately turned down the opportunity with Tony. Smash the share button, smash the like button. We are bringing information today so that you do not have to go through the same situations. You can learn from her story, his story, our story, so you do not have to go through the same things, and you will know what pitfalls to avoid. So now, it's 1990 again. I start my college in the summer in the class program. My sister starts her college in the fall, traveling over to Boston, Massachusetts to go to Berklee College of Music. There, all of the connections are there, and there are people who actively search out talented people from Berklee College of Music to go on tour, to go on world tours. And when you are affiliated, it's the possibilities that come, because probably you will be tapped, because talented people respect talented people, and so thus talented people put in good word for people who are truly talented. Those who are not talented never put in a good word for talented people, because there is envy and jealousy there. So as my sister said, being at an institution where everyone was talented, that were on a certain level and exceeding even that level, opportunities came which brought about probability that possibly, but more than possibly, probably you would be on tour, right? So this is where we pick up. Now, remember we told you yesterday, smash the share button, smash the like button, tag your people in it, because we are giving information about the music business, the business of music, show business, the business of show on this episode, part 2, possibilities and probabilities, the disagreeable bandmate, right? So now, as we left you yesterday, we were speaking on the Snap tour, and we didn't go into the intricacies and the details. So we're gonna rewind a little bit and get to why my sister decided to turn down the Tony shoe-in, because my sister's name was ringing bells at the schoolhouse, okay? Her professionalism and her ability to do the job was ringing bells. There was no white balling, right, going on. So let's go back to the Snap tour, right? So you're in Florida, right? Miami, you said, is that right? Miami.
Orlando.
You're in Orlando, Florida for the rehearsals, and the lead singer falls out with Turbo B. Now remember, these are personal experiences and our observations and opinions on these personal experiences, right? So she drops out, and someone opens their mouth and says that you can sing, and then pick it up from there.
Okay, so originally on the recorded track of The Power, it was longtime great vocalist Penny Ford. It was her voice that was on that track, even though in the video you had somebody lip syncing Probably couldn't sing at all, but you know, they all of them went and got those skinny model types and kind of Euro looking model types, black, you know, and would have them in the videos,
kind of like
lip syncing the song,
kind of like Milli Vanilli, right? Milli
exactly.
Vanilli. They were
right.
Actually, the guy who was actually singing that, he was heavy set, but I guess the Euros don't like to see heavy set people. And most of Martha Wash, which I got to meet Martha Wash, she sung on a lot of the music too. CC Music Factory in particular, but they would put skinny Euro black models in those spaces who really not necessarily had those type of pipes. So continue on.
I think Martha Wash also sang on Black Boxes stuff as well. In the same scenario, you had a model lip syncing. So some kind of way, you know, we're at the rehearsals. Penny didn't show up, and she had it was some kind of contractual discrepancy. All right. I didn't know the details of that, nor should I have been privy to them. I was a hired on band member, so I shouldn't have known. But somebody opened their mouth with my unit. It had to be, I don't know which one of them was it, but it had to be either the other keyboard player or the guitar player that I came with said that I could sing. I think it was a guitar player. Because I was playing with her. She had come from New Kids on the Block, but I was playing with her in an all-female band at Berkeley. And so that's the only way that's the only person that knew I could sing. So they told them, and they came to me offering me a double duty gig. Now, I was not experienced. I was not a unionized musician. I didn't have any idea how much I was supposed to be getting paid for pulling double duty. However, what they offered me just didn't sound right, so I didn't go with it. They offered me $250 extra, and I thought to myself, I'm like, well, you're gonna save on a first class flight because you're gonna have me riding coach. You're gonna save on another suite because he gets a suite to himself, and I'm sure she was going to too. So you're gonna have me, you know, bunking with other people. So you saving money right there. So I'm like, you can round this up to $2,000 because the initial agreement was $1,000 a week plus $250 per diem. And that probably was a low ball too. It was probably a low ball, but I didn't know, you know, and it was probably a low ball, but I told him, I said, why don't you, I'm going to need for you to increase that to 2,000. And then I'll do the other part. And because it was going to be extra work for me, and extra work that's not actually fun. I like to just play for either I'm going to sing or I'm going to play. My playing and singing, you know, one takes away from the other one. So you kind of compromised a bit, but I was able to pull it off. So I went on and did.
Let's get this right now. Let's give context. So you're in Orlando, Florida, and the main singer doesn't show up. So it's not like you were already over in Japan and the lead singer didn't show up. This is before the tour even kicks off, and they're coming to you and saying, we want you to be the lead singer next to Turbo as well as the keyboard player on the tour, right? Is that right? So continue on. So so right there, you haven't even got on the plane to get to Orlando, but you haven't even got on the plane to travel 9 hours over to Japan yet to even kick off the first leg of the tour. This is harrowing stuff. Continue.
So this is what was going on. This is what I was able to piece together, is that this, like I told y'all yesterday, this was a Pepsi-Cola Reebok sponsored tour. So anybody who knows anything about tours that are being sponsored by major corporations, there's major money that is advanced to everybody that's going to be on that show. There's major money advanced to hold their spot or secure that artist that's going to be part of the program. So they advanced them some money. So that money that's advanced is supposed to pay your band, your management that's coming with you, whoever you bring in with you, assistants or whatever, is supposed to pay everybody that's involved. But what happened was that money came, and that money got spent on personal items for Turbo. And so there was very little of that money left that they had advanced. Go ahead.
Right. So let's look at a couple of definitions, right? Now, a benefactor is a little bit different than a sponsor, right? A sponsor is usually they hand the money and then they move off to the side. This is a situation of what we're talking about here. Pepsi Cola, Reebok, they paid the money, they gave it out, and then they pretty much set up and wait for you to come to wherever the location is, and they have their banners and everything set up, and you are basically the face of what they have chosen to sponsor. And you are the face, and they believe that you can sell their product because you have such an image. Now, that is not what a benefactor is. A benefactor is different than a sponsor. A benefactor is more hands-on. Okay, all right. Benefactor is an individual that provides money or other resources to an individual, group, or organization. Antonyms of benefactor: foe, opponent, disfavorer, antagonist, rival, back friend, like a backbiter, oppressor. Synonyms of benefactor: friend, supporter, contributor, upholder, well-wisher, favorer, well-doer, patron, benefactor, and beneficiary. Beneficiary is the person who receives the benefit. Benefactor is the person who gives money for some other thing of value. That gives money for some other thing of value to another person. For some other thing of value to another person. The F was off the or there, but that's what it means. Okay. So when you're in the music business or the business of show, there are often benefactors, right? We'll get more on that probably in future episodes, but we just wanted to put that definition down and let you know the difference between a benefactor and a sponsor. Sponsors hands off, benefactors more hands on. All right, so continue on.
And so along with these sponsorships, there are other perks. So once you get there, you're getting their product, you're wearing their product. With Reebok, you're getting your pick of the tennis shoes. You wear their shoes, their T-shirts, carry their fanny, wear their fanny packs and all this stuff, to promote their brand. And with Pepsi Cola, the same thing. Bags, insulated bags to keep your cans of Pepsi cold, things like that. Things, promotional items, if you will. So we got a lot of that. And it was a tennis tournament for the stars that was also being sponsored by them. So it was actors, actresses, and musicians. Everybody was on this thing. So we get we see that there's this situation. I'm now the singer. I got to do all these vocal parts now. All of these vocal parts have this gospel belting type vocals, which my voice, I can pull that off. I could bust one off right now. However, my voice is not trained to do that on 6 songs straight, night after night after night after night. So at one point during the tour, and I'm going to be skipping around at different time periods during it, we're in Japan. And wait, were we in Japan? Yeah, we were in Japan, and my voice goes completely out. Completely out. I mean, I'm talking like I'm talking to y'all, and there is no sound coming. It was actually a scary thing. I never had laryngitis before. I've had, you know, things going on when you have a cold. You know, sometimes your voice is affected. I've been hoarse before. From singing, I've been hoarse before, but I've never had laryngitis. And no matter what you do, nothing is coming out. No matter how much you press, you can press your pipes, you know, your vocal cords, you can press, there is nothing coming out. Nothing. Sound is completely gone. So so one evening, and this was the evening we were not performing, one evening, there's a knock at the door, and it's all of us, well, the musicians are sitting there with the road manager's wife, and the door, there's a knock at the door, and she opens the door, and this man comes in with this briefcase. It's, you know, if you guys know what those pharmaceutical briefcases look like, kind of thin, hard shell, about, you know, 24 inches wide, something like that. And she said, "This is Dr. So-and-so. He treats Stevie Nicks and Cher." So I'm thinking to myself, you know, I have a humorous thought process. Go ahead.
Allegedly, he services or works with Cher and Stevie Nicks. Allegedly. Continue on.
Right, allegedly. That's what I was told. So I'm thinking to myself, well, that's not really an impressive resume, because they always look high. So that's not actually an impressive resume to me. So he goes to open this case, and there's all these needles and vials. And I'm looking at him, and he says, "Well," I said, "What is that?" Because depending on what he tells me, it ain't gonna happen. And so I'm like, you know, I'm writing it down. I had to write it on a thing. What is that? And
but what exactly? Let's back up a little bit. What exactly did they prep you to tell you that they were going to do? Because they had to have told you what they were proposing ahead of time. So let's back up a little bit and give context on that.
Well, no, they I had went and bought me some Vicks salve. I had bought the Vicks, the liquid Vicks that you pour in the hot water in the sink, and you kind of breathe over it and let it get, so that I was trying to self-medicate and self-do it, and I wasn't told anybody was coming. So that was strike number one. I wasn't told anybody was coming. Then when he comes, you tell me who he is. I guess that's supposed to give it some weight, which it really didn't. But then he goes on to say, no, all this is, don't be concerned. All this is a cortisone. I'm going to give you a cortisone shot, and it's going to bring your voice back. So I said, okay, it's a cortisone shot. I said, well, I knew that cortisone, I didn't know cortisone was good for anything but skin, but okay. So it was a cortisone shot. So he gave me this shot, and within hours, my voice was back.
Okay,
so that must have been a very high dose.
Let's look up cortisone and give the definition of what cortisone is. All right? Let's look it up. Let's see what it is. Smash the share button, smash the like button, because we are giving some business of music, business of show on this episode 45, part 2, possibilities and probabilities. So what is cortisone?
Hold on just a second.
Yes, people. Smash the share button, smash the like button, tag your people in it. People who are in the music or want to be in the music business, you need to know the information that we are putting down for you this morning and this afternoon. We're constantly bringing you information to help build your mind state, so you won't be in that mindset. Your eyes will be wide open. Let me tell you something. Cleveland people in particular read a lot of books and have a lot of experiences based on what they have read, and what they haven't read, some come back and inform and give their experience, right? So when people come, they say, oh, you know about publishing and copyrights and royalties and all that. Even if you're not exactly on it, they're like, we need to find someone is to be able to take advantage of, because someone who knows about publishing and copyrights and royalties and everything, and they know how to fill all that out and say, well, hey, I'm going to get a deal and you're only going to give me 7 cents or 70 cents or 1 cent of my, that's the deal, and then I owe you. That don't sound right. But anyway, so let's go through what cortisone is.
Okay, so I had to look up 2 things in order to bring it home for everybody. So a cortisone shot are injections that can help relieve pain and inflammation in a specific area of the body. They're most commonly injected into joints such as your ankle, elbow, hip, knee, shoulder, spine, or wrist. Even the small joints in your hands or feet might benefit from the cortisone shot. The injections usually contain a corticosteroid medication and a local anesthetic. That's where, you're getting high comes in at. Often you can receive one at your doctor's office. Because of potential side effects, the number of shots you can get in a year is generally limited. Now, in the context of being used for voice, steroids are used, because remember, this cortisone shot was a form of steroids, which I didn't know till I spoke to my mother afterwards. But steroids are used to reduce swelling anywhere in the body, and the vocal cords are no exception. If the vocal cords are swollen, steroids will reduce the swelling and the vibration will improve, making the voice sound better. Said better. Some singers always have swelling due to voice misuse. Now, remember what I said. After the one that I had, my voice was back within hours. It was back within hours. So that means that must have been a very high dose of whatever that was. Now, I didn't feel high or anything like that, thankfully, but it brought my voice right back. So what is that saying? Potentially, this is how stuff gets started. This is just how stuff gets started with people getting hooked on drugs and stuff in the music industry or acting industry, any industry. This is just how it gets started. Now, this was not recreational. This was medical. To supposedly, because if it had been any recreational drug, I would have turned it down immediately. But this was medical, and he gave me the shot, and it came right back. Now, say, for instance, 3 or 4 days later, my voice went out again from being overworked. They was going to try to come with another shot, but I told them after I spoke to my mother and she hit the roof, she was like,
hold on. Wait. We want to keep that in context. We want to keep it in context. We want to give it to them, right? What are the side effects of using the cortisone shot? What are the unwanted side effects of that? See, we're going to pull back the skin and the layers of the onion very succinctly. See, there are what you would call side effects that thus need something else to take care of the side effect, and that something else has a side effect, which means you got to get something else for that side effect to take care of that side effect, to take care of that side effect, but that's got a side effect, which means you need something else to take care of that side effect, that has a side effect, and it goes down. It's like a domino effect. So what are the side effects of taking the cortisone shot too often?
Cartilage damage, death of nearby bone, joint infection, nerve damage, temporary facial flushing, temporary flare of pain and inflammation in the joints, temporary increase in blood sugar, tendon weakening or rupture, thinning of nearby bone or osteoporosis, thinning of skin and soft tissue around the injection site, whitening or lightening of skin around the injection site.
So you take this cortisone shot and your voice comes back in a couple of hours and you're able to sing and you feel, and it feels even stronger and everything, and no one's telling you sing from the diaphragm, not from the throat. No one's telling you that, right? No, they just want you to get out there. I got the power. Okay, all right. So they got you. I got the power, and you know, no diaphragm, straight from the throat. Worse. I hate hearing singers that sing from the throat. I'm telling you, they really have no training whatsoever, but it comes from the diaphragm. You're supposed to speak from the diaphragm. Like, I'm speaking through my throat right now, but when you speak from your diaphragm, then it comes up. But anyway, another story. So you're feeling good, and then how soon afterwards did you call Mom, and what did you exactly say? And what did she exactly say?
Well, I called Mom when I could talk, because if I had tried to call her before, wasn't nothing going to come out. She was going to be worried because she knew I was out of the country. So I told her what had happened and everything, and I told her I had took this cortisone shot, and she said, "Girl, don't take no more of that sugar honey iced tea. That's steroids." I said, "Oh, is it? I didn't know that." So we talked for a few more minutes, and then I let her off the phone. And so here comes the manager's wife saying to me, "Well, you know, if your voice," no, she said, "if your voice goes out again, we always have him on standby." I said, "Well, no, I won't be taking no more shots." And she says, "Well, if your voice goes out and you don't take the shot, we're going to have to call the entire tour." I said, "Okay." I said, that's what we'll have to do, because I'm not taking no more shots."
Okay, so wait a minute. So you right then became the Disagreeable bandmate. Part 2, possibilities and probabilities. What is the possibility that you became the Disagreeable bandmate, and what was the probability that at that point they weren't on pins and needles, and at that point they weren't already saying that this person is not willing to play ball? So you were in Japan when this happened, right? How many shows had you done already? And then let's get into what Japan was like for those who have never traveled.
We had done 2 shows because we were in several cities in Japan. We were in Tokyo, Osaka, Yokohama, and there was one more. It was 4 different cities in Japan we were at, and we were in Tokyo first. And so we had done Tokyo, and I think it was after the Osaka show that was the second show in Japan. So that one shot, you know, carried me through the rest of the tour, but it thank goodness for them. Because I'm serious about that. I wasn't taking any more shots, or you could send me home and get you another singer to bring on the road or whatever, but it didn't mean that much to me like that, right? It was an experience and an opportunity, but I wasn't all caught up in it, right? And this is something that we want to teach you guys.
Right. So did the attitudes change? Did the situation change? That the morale on the tour changed because everyone was on pins and needles because you were the disagreeable bandmate?
Just with her, you know, the manager and his wife, they were kind of strange acting. Some people on the tour didn't know anything about that incident. And then, but the tour, they were already on pins and needles because the leader or the main part of the act had spent all the money. So they were paying us in cash. They were paying us in cash. You know, it was no Cash App or anything like that. They were paying us in cash money. And then at one point, it went from cash money to traveler's checks. Traveler's checks. That means you were piecemealing day to day. You were piecemealing. Now, what else was happening was, besides the Pepsi Cola Reebok tour we were there for, because the money had been spent, you had to make money in order to keep paying the people you had. So they had, unbeknownst to Turbo, they had booked gigs in venues. It's probably the size of, if you remember, the Agora, or some were the size of like maybe the House of Blues, something like that. But in his mind, that's out of my league. That's too small. So when we walk up in these places, you can hear him cussing like across, like you can hear him cussing through the walls. He like, what the F is this? I'm not doing this, S. And I'm thinking any minute now a table gonna flip over or something. Because, you know, he was a kind of sizable guy. He was big and intimidating. And so when he went off like that, you know, I knew his bark was bigger than his bite because, you know, he and I are of the same sign. And his birthday was, you know, 8 days after mine. So I knew his bark was bigger than his bite unless he was really, really pissed for real. But just his stature intimidated all of them. Everybody on there was tiny. I probably was the next biggest thing after him. So he's clowning and going off about these venues, and then they're getting the money from these venues, and then they're paying us, you know. And it's funny because I'm picking up all of this by just keeping my ear open and just watching what's going on. So it was already, they were already on pins and needles from the start, but everybody's trying to get their coins some kind of way. So
they were honorable in that way, that the management was honorable, that they made sure that the people were paid by doing this. And he pretty much, they made Turbo sacrifice for what had been done earlier, but so they were honorable in that aspect.
They were. I mean, he had spent the money. They were the management. They had to make this happen. Why? Because they were the management, and when these corporate sponsored tours, there's contracts. So ain't no forfeiting the contract, and nobody, I'm sure they didn't have the money to give back to them. And the money was already spent. So they were creative in making something happen and getting these other gigs in these venues. It was probably easy for them to book him there because of the level of a star that he was at the time. So those venues were probably overjoyed to have him appear in their establishment, you know, but they were making it happen. They had to make the money to pay the people that they had with them. They could not pay it without a pending lawsuit. So they were being creative. I can give them that.
So what was Japan like? You land in the airport, you come out. Let's talk about what it looked like landing in the airport, and what does Japan look like at night?
Any movie that you've seen that took place in Japan, that's exactly what it looks like. When you get off at the Tokyo airport, you know, it's a culture shock because everything is in Japanese. Nothing's in English. It's not until you get to the tourist sections of the cities do you have anything that's written in English or anybody that even speaks English, right? Other than that, you're trying to communicate using your hands and saying words real slow as if that's going to help them understand even any better. And everything is it's a culture shock. Everything is in Japanese. So when we got to the first hotel that was booked, I mean, you know, apparently sight unseen, of course, you're booking a hotel. This is funny. We go in these rooms and the tubs are about 3 feet long. They about half the length of a regular bathtub. So they're about 3 feet long and they're about 24 inches high. So to get in this tub, you got to lift your leg way high to get in this tub. So that was the first experience of the blaring cussing that I heard from Turbo when he walked in this room and saw that bathtub. He was like, I'm not standing here. Get me the F out of here. I'm not standing here. What is this tub? He said, nobody stays here but midgets. I can't fit in that tub. So we immediately were transported to another hotel that was Americanized. Some of the people that worked the desk, they spoke a little bit of English, so we were able to interact with them a little bit at least. And they had normal sized bathtubs, and their bathtubs are all jet stream. That was nice. So we moved to another hotel. So that was night number one. And we had the concert promoter in Japan. It's the same one that was on the movie. It was a hip hop movie that came out several years back. And I think Wu-Tang was in it. But there was this concert promoter in Japan named Yuji. That was the same person that was promoting during the time that we were over there. And he was taking us around to different places to eat and stuff like that. So we're there and it is lit up. It is at least maybe it was just the areas that we were in, because we were in well-traveled areas where hotels were, where visitors were and stuff like that. Everything was lit up. Everything had big neon signs in Japanese. It looked like walking the streets at night was like walking a boulevard of just affluence is all I can say. It was just lighting everywhere, all different color lights, all different colors too. It was very strange, even purple neon. And I'm like, wow, look at that purple neon sign, purple and yellow neon sign. That was pretty. And I'm looking around, I'm taking pictures and stuff. And it was quite an experience. It was quite an experience being in Tokyo. And then we went from Tokyo to Osaka. And what was interesting is I met a couple of American Black owners over there that owned nightclubs. They owned restaurants. Some of them had previously been professional athletes and had suffered injuries early in their career. And they had taken their money and came over there. And they had been over there for years. Some of them had taken wives over there and things like that. And they were successful businessmen over there. I met a couple of Black American or American Black pimps. They were flourishing over there too. They were flourishing. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of different. It's things that you just don't think about. You don't think about that you're going to see a Black man over in Japan flourishing in the restaurant business or being a club owner. You just don't think that you're going to see that, but you see it. And it was that. And what else was going on? Oh, go ahead.
So they had something over there called white slavery, allegedly. Allegedly, they had white slavery. Let's talk about it. You had the two female dancers, and they were from Disney casting. And what was happening with that over there? Let's tell that story real quick.
So while we were on one of the buses in Japan, going from one of the tour buses going from one of the venues, Turbo was telling everybody that, you know, that he needed everybody to kind of stick together. He said because allegedly white slavery was going on over there. Well, basically, it was a nice way of saying prostitution, where the slaves of choice were white females, blonde hair, blue eyed, and what they would do is cut off half of their pinky finger to mark them as property or shadow or whatever. And so he had said that before. Now, we had 3 females fitting that description on the tour. All of them were dancers. A set of them were twins. And then there was the other one, the third one out, that looked similar to them. She looked a lot like them, but she was a little bit older. She probably exceeded them in age by maybe 10 years. And, but the twins were just, they were very Disney. Just right from where they came from. Hi, oh my God, this is girl, oh my God. You know, and so that right there, if y'all know me, I'm instantly irritated by all that high-pitched, shrilling, talking, and giggling and stuff like that. I'm automatically irritated by that. So I'm just sitting there like, oh, Lord, this is going to be a long ride. This is going to be a long ride. And so we've done a couple of shows. And so now Yuji is taking us around for the nightlife after the shows. There's always after parties and things like that. So he took us to this one place. This is where when I found out there was black pimps in Japan. So I was like, you know, this guy, he comes over and he's rubbing shoulders with us because he's thinking he's going to score either some drug sale use, you know, or he's going to score something with his pimping, right? So we're sitting there, and he's got a couple of women sitting there, and one of them gets up. Now, mind you, in my company, the people that I'm with, the musicians I'm with, one of the musicians was a lesbian. I was not, you know, don't let this fool you. I've never had a confusion about my sexuality, anything like that, all right? This is just a style. I like the style. So, you know, one of them was a lesbian, which is why I was perplexed that this woman gets up and she comes and she sits next to me and she says, hi. And I'm like, oh, hi. You know, I'm trying to be friendly. And she casually lays her head on my shoulder. So I'm looking like, what the heck is going on here? I'm puzzled. Now, the lesbian woman, she's cracking up. She is beside herself with laughter because she knows what's up. She knows what it means because she was a well-traveled jazz keyboardist. And so she had been there before, so she knew the deal. She knew the drill, so she's laughing. She's having a ball. Her and the guitar player, they laughing at me because she told the guitar player what was up. They're laughing because the look on my face had to be like, my expression had to be like, you know. So I'm looking at this guy, and then he said something to her in Japanese. And instantly she became a prodigy. I'm sorry. I'm like, you know, just be cool. You know, you sorry. Just, you know, take your head off my shoulder. Ain't nothing happening. I told him, tell her ain't nothing happening. I don't, you know, then she gave me this card. It was an index card, like a flyer, a quarter-page flyer. And it was a dress shop. And she said she owned that dress shop. He said she owned that dress shop. I'm like, she owned the dress shop and she's a prostitute? I don't understand what's going on here. I don't understand. So finally, you know, he asked, are y'all hungry? You know, there's a Korean barbecue around the corner. Y'all hungry? I'm going to take y'all to. But he had the utmost respect for us in his actions. He didn't try nothing. He himself didn't try anything. And so we go walking. Now we got the older blonde-haired woman with us. She ditzy too. She's hot in the drawers, okay? She hot in the drawers. And so she hanging all over him. You know, hanging all over him. So again, I'm irritated. I'm irritated. So we following him, but I'm following me and the keyboard player and the guitar player. We're following, but we're following at a distance because we need to be able to backtrack and duck on out of here. And so he takes us down this dark alley. Ain't no lights in this alley. And that's just like in the movies. There's a lot of those places in Japan where there's dark alleys, and then you come out the end of the alley and it's lit up again. It's like, why couldn't you see the lights while you were in the alley though? That's the funny thing. But you walking down and we get like, and here she is up there hanging on his arm. The blonde haired chick hanging on his arm, leaning on like they a couple or something. And so we get to the end and it's all lit up, and then a few steps further and we were at the Korean barbecue spot where they had fire pits in the middle of the table, and they would bring you platters of, they'd ask you what kind of meat you wanted. They bring you platters of it and you cook it yourself and season it yourself right there at the table. And they bring you bowls of rice, and then, you know, you just cook the stuff yourself and eat it. They bring you bowls of rice and vegetables, and you cook it yourself at the table. So that was interesting. You know, that was an interesting experience. And then I don't even know what happened to the girl. I don't know. I think it was a keyboard player that told her to come on, let's go. And she was trying to go with the man. And she's like, you know, how stupid is that? Yeah, he was cool. He was, I believe, because I was the only black female and he was a black man. I believe it was my presence that kept everybody cool because I was there. It was out of respect for me that he was keeping everybody cool. So, you know, and here she is trying to go with him. Now that would have been a wrap. Ain't nobody would have known where she was at. You know, nobody would have known where she was at. Nobody knew where he was from and where he lived at. Nobody knew anything. She just gonna go with him. And so it took the keyboard player to say, come on, let's go. No, you're not going, you're going back with us. You know, and she had a little attitude about it. It's like, really? I'm like, boy, these people here.
So where did the disagreement come in? When did it come to a head where you were seen as the disagreeable bandmate? We know about the no more cortisone shots. What else happened that led to it? Then you head home and then you get the call.
Well, you know, the cortisone shot thing was strike 2, because remember, strike 1 was I wasn't agreeable with the price they were offering me. That was strike 1 for the double duty. Strike 2 was the cortisone. Strike 3, I believe, was personal between me and Turbo's cousin, who was on the road as a roadie. He was knocking on our room door at night, and then he would like push his way in and walk around. This is what he would be doing, because he was a big brute too. He was a big brute. And he'd come in. So I'm looking at him like, you know, this is going to be a bad situation because he don't know me like that. See, on the tour, I was known, the sound man called me Sunshine. He said I lit up a room when I walked in, and he would call me. He said, "Hi, Sunshine." He was from London. Sunshine, how are you, Sunshine? But they don't understand that Sunshine has another side. Sunshine will rain the wrath of hell on you if you do the wrong thing. All right? So he's coming in there doing all this intimidating looking stuff. And you ain't intimidating nobody but them, because I'm getting pissed off. And he was doing that more than once at night, like at 2 o'clock in the morning, knocking on the door. What you knocking on the door for at 2 o'clock in the morning? And so I had one other person in the room with me, but he looked at me talking about something, what's up? I'm like, what's up? What you mean, what's up? Ain't nothing up. All right, then. And then he come knock again like it was going to change from day to day. So I thought about something after the fact, and I only thought about it years later. I only thought about it only last year. It was him that called me and said that they were replacing me on the tour. I never had the mind to think about, maybe I just didn't care that much, but I never had the mind to say, why wasn't it the manager that was calling me? What if that individual called me and I didn't show up and I was a no-show? That's what I thought about last year. Because people do dirty things, you know, they do dirt. But then I was thinking, how would he have gotten my phone number unless they gave it to him? Well, there's a lot of ways. If you sneaking around and you going and you're devising a scheme, it's a lot of ways. It very well could have been because that was a job for management to call and tell me, not him. You were just a roadie. You really were, I mean, you were his cousin, but you were a roadie. You were not in that position. So, but I just took that word for it, maybe because, like I said, I didn't care about it that much. But I never had the mind to think to call the manager and re-verify that information. I just never thought about it. So I very well could have appeared as a no-show. And that probably, more than likely, was what that was. That's probably what that was. See, people will do things to you when you will not be agreeable. But let me tell you what I have on my side. Nobody ever has a testimony on me of being used out on the road. Nobody. Nobody has a testimony on me of being drug influenced or addicted out on the road. Nobody. Nobody has a testimony on me of being a pushover where business is concerned, even if I didn't know the right form of payment. I knew, what I did know also is I wasn't a unionized musician. So whatever I agreed upon was what it was. I didn't have a right to demand a certain price because I was not in the musicians union. So I did know that much. And I think they were purposely getting musicians that were not in the union so that they could pay them a little lower because they were in a financial strait with this tour to pull this tour off. But nobody has that testimony in me. To me, that is more than its weight in gold. To be able to look in this camera, to be able to look in the mirror and say, you know, that my hands are clean and you're not getting nothing off on me for the love of money, and money don't rule me. I rule money. Money don't rule me.
Which gets us to the monkey on the back. You see, well, my sister illustrates to you in this narrative and the telling of this experience is that she successfully kept the monkey off the back. But let's look at the definition. Monkey on the back means to have an addiction that one cannot control, or to be addicted to drugs or suffering withdrawal from a drug addiction. The origin of this idiom may be the stories of Sinbad. The earliest known works are from the 17th century. Get the monkey off one's back. What is the definition of that phrase? To remove or solve a problem that has been difficult to get rid of or solve. To get rid of a problem or situation that makes one unhappy and that lasts for a long time. He finally got the monkey off his back and kicked his drug addiction. So you see, this story is still a harrowing tale, because there were many places where there could have been pitfalls which will lead us into our situation. So what did the discussion that we had earlier have to do with what we're talking about now? What does that have to do with it, right? Wendy Williams and them needing to have an intervention, appearing to need to have an intervention for her life. The possibilities and probability is high that you will succumb to the pressures of needing to push above and beyond, and the show must go on no matter what, that you will fall victim and be that what you did not intend to be, which would be an addict, right? Now, when I was 12 years old, and I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again, right? When I was 12 years old, I had asked my mother, I said, let me go with my cousin, because my mother and father had this car called a Riviera. They had the first one that had come out, the latest model, right? And this particular cousin of mine just begged for that car and begged for that car and begged for that car. So what my parents did, because they had bought the LeSabre, right? They had bought the LeSabre, and they, you know, kept the Riviera instead of trading it in, to go on ahead and pretty much, unbeknownst to him, give it to him for just working on a part on the car. I forget what the part was. It was insignificant. So I had asked him, I said, let me ride, and, you know, where you go get the part. Okay, so we're riding, right? And so we're coming down off of Route 8. There's that little ramp that's in between there. The Harley Davidson store was right there. They moved farther back down Route 8 now, but they were right there. And he was coming along there, coming down to Warrensville Center Road, and he was going up in his visor, and he had something in aluminum foil in the visor, and he was going to get it. I said, what's that? He said, I never get a chance to use it when my wife and daughter is in the car, right? And I looked at him and I said, don't let something that someone do make another person lose respect for that person. That's exactly how I read it. I've always had a phraseology about my words that are not the average way of saying, don't do that, do that. I used one. I said, don't let one lose respect for another one who does something that they don't expect to do, something like that. And so he looked at me and he put it back up there. I never knew what it was. I never saw what it was, right? But then my mom's had laced my boots. She had told me, she said, older people are into things that younger people are not into or should not be into. And that's why my mother did not believe it. But the very time that she did, she relented. And of course, I went back. I said, you know, he tried to do that. He said, well, you'll never ride with him. I said, I didn't want to, because actually I had lost respect for him, because I'm 12. I'm a 12-year-old kid. You do not do something like that with a 12-year-old kid. And if you are scum. It means that your mentality is that of a 12-year-old yourself, even though you're an older man, just like R. Kelly on the first 12-play album was talking about when he was 14 and the girls was 14 and they didn't want to talk to him, but now they do. We didn't know that he wasn't saying that the girls moved from 14 like he moved from 14 into his 20s and now they want to talk to him. Now, that's how I took it. But what he was really saying was that I'm stuck at 14 for some reason mentally. And now the 14-year-olds want to talk to me now that I'm 21. You understand? So, I mean, this is real. This is real serious. Look at this. Look at this. They're trying to clip me here. I don't know what's going on. What did I say? What did I say? I'm just talking about decency, and you, Facebook wants to clip me over decency? We're talking decency. So this is real sick. That things that harmed you when you were a child, you're supposed to be able to compartmentalize them and move forward. Learn from them and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
I was 12, but I knew then that I did not want to be around someone ever again because you did not have respect enough for my age or me just being your cousin. And many people go that. DMX, as a young kid, you know, he had a bad situation at home with his moms. They're trying to clip us. He had a bad situation by the Rough Rider documentary that's on BET. He had a bad situation at home, so he was finding people to connect with outside the home because he was being raised by a single parent, by a mom, and the mom seemed to not care much for him. So he was out there and he looked up to this older dude, and the dude was smoking a cigarette and gave it to him, and he said he took it and he went, woo! And then he said, what is that? And he said, it's a woolly. Cigarette mixed with cocaine. He said, why would you do that? I looked up to you. Why would you do that? And he was hooked ever since then. Do you understand? So when you're in the music business and to keep things going, they will shoot you with different things that will have a side effect. And then you need something else for a side effect. And it gets into needing pain relievers. Pain relievers. Which brings us to the presentation that we have edited up today. We're going to take this because this is going to be a part 3 to possibilities and probabilities tomorrow, because we're going to be doing the parallel. What was happening while my sister was on tour? What was I doing in Cleveland, Ohio? So we're going to keep going as we go through this parallelism, right? Now look, this brings us to the presentation that yours truly has edited up to be succinct about the use of pain relievers. What's going on out there today? So here we go, but we juxtapose with something from yesterday and how it applies to today as we tell this story. So here we go.
And the next slide is one that shows the appearance of a young person who has died from an overdose of narcotic. Pulmonary edema develops very acutely, and the edematous fluid, the frothy fluid, oozes out of the mouth and the nostrils, and it almost has the appearance of a freshly drowned body. There's tremendous congestion and edema that comes on very suddenly, and these people die with that finding not infrequently. Now, of course, if that's wiped away a number of times, it won't reform, but if you have a chance to see the body undisturbed, this is not an uncommon sight.
Okay, so I was in the 2nd grade on the west side on vertebrates. Sometimes it would be too cold to go outside for recess during the wintertime, so for some reason, the brainiacs in the schoolhouse showed us a film similar to this about heroin overdoses, and what they show you there is mild. The congestion and all the pulmonedema and all that they're talking about there, that's mild in the one that I found for this presentation today. because they showed you, I mean, people who were laid in the bed on their stomach and their whole throat was expanded, and the throw up that had dried had misformed their mouth, and their mouth was open, and it was just throw up and everything, and they had died like that, suffocated, right? I mean, this is during the recess. After you eat lunch, then they would play a film. They also played a film about a mime that learned how to mime from another mime, and then he started stealing from gas stations by doing mime tricks. But anyway, that was another movie for another time. I don't even know what the name of that movie was. But they showed us this film. Now, we are second grade. And you know what it taught me? It said, I never want to get high. I got the message. I got the message when later on, when old girl, Reagan's wife, meanwhile, he's funding the crack, funding Iran-Contra with the crack sales, the Ready Rock sales, the cocaine sales. But she said, just say no. And I heard her, and they had the other one. This is your brain on drugs. So coupled with having my boots laced already, and then watching this film and seeing just say no, and this is your brain on drugs. When that came around at 12 years old, my boots were laced. I'd already seen some things, and I said, I love myself too much to end up like, rest in peace, Whitney Houston. My sister on tour, once she found out what, and I'm sure that's how it starts for singers. Oh, they shoot it a couple of times, then there's some side effects, there's some pain, then they need to get a painkiller to be able to go on stage. They got to pop. Look at Elvis. They talk about, they trying to clean Elvis up now, but the early films, right after he died, they started telling a story about him popping pills. It's a pain thing. I need to manage my pain, and there are all yes people around, just like what is being reported about Wendy Williams right now. We are in the middle of seeing a devastating, a travesty, really, right? Because it's about pain relief, and if I'm going to go out here and perform and be good for the people, I need my pain relievers. And after a while, what the person was pushing them on, then they demand from the person that pushed it on them to keep going. And they know that they have created a reciprocal monster of infinities within a circle. It's a self-prophesying and fulfilling end, right? And if you are not willing to do that, then it's possibly best that you remain independent and do your thing yourself. You move when you move when you don't want to move, and that is the luxury. But do you really want to be in this business? So let's continue. Let's see where pain relievers come from. Speaking of, let's speak on heroin specifically.
Heroin is an illegal pain-killing opioid used for its euphoric effects. The root of all opioids is the opium poppy plant. Opium poppy has been cultivated for thousands of years, and was known to the ancient Sumerians as the plant of joy. Opium poppy is used to create morphine, which is then further refined to create heroin. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, in 2015, over 4 million people over the age of 12 had used heroin at some point in their life.
Over the age of 12 have used heroin sometimes in life. I was 12 going on 13. I was 12 going on 13. Something in aluminum foil. Something in aluminum foil. I was 12 going on 13. Statistics say that no good older relatives, older friends of the family, older such and such, no good get younger people started on drugs. What do you guys say to that?
You know, I was 16 when my mother decided that she loosened the reins a little bit, and she would let me go, you know, more places and do more things at that age. So I was 16, also with some cousins, one on one side of the family, one on the other side of the family, one law enforcement. That's the first time I was offered weed too. I was 16. And you would think because one person was law enforcement, I'm sure that would be one of the reasons why Mom would think, oh, that would be halfway okay. You know, that's you know, my niece. She's law enforcement. That should be a safe situation. But that's exactly how it happens. A friend of the family, an older family member. That's why our mother was very careful about letting us hang out with older people older than us or outside of our age group. It's just that I was almost grown. So she was loosening the reins a little bit, because after a while you have to begin to have some trust in what you put into your children, you know. But it's the same difference. You get around people that's doing it and they want to offer it to you. And why would they do that? Well, I mean, I wonder why it's not the natural inclination of a person to say, well, my aunt is like XYZ and she's trusting me with her child, her offspring. So I'm going to do, whether I do this or not, I'm going to do what's right by her. Why wouldn't that be your natural line of reasoning, your natural line of thought? But it's not. And so people, particularly those of you who have children or offspring that wants to be in the music industry, you need to be at their side. You need to be at their side so that there's no opportunity, and you need to have enough discipline and intestinal and testicular fortitude to say no to the dollar if the terms of agreement and the terms are not right. You have to have enough intestinal fortitude to turn down the money. Because the minute you consent to something foul because of the money, or be willing to turn your head because of the money, however you start a thing is how you got to maintain it. So it's an endless rabbit hole. It'll never end. Okay, so today, you know, you let them take your underage daughter and have sex with her. Tomorrow, you having sex with them. The next day, they're sodomizing your son. The next day, where does the rabbit hole stop? Where does it stop? If you don't have any kind of morals or any kind of boundaries where you say, that right there, that's not going to fly. This is about my daughter singing or my son singing. Anything else is off the table, and that's off the table too. That's off the table too. Them singing for you. Listen, I'm the type of person, I will tell you something. I don't give one turd from a baby mouse's behind about a contract when dirt comes up in the game. I will walk away. I'll be like, so sue me. Hey, you can't get juice out of turnip. What you gonna do, sue me? All you can do is file a judgment in the court, and that judgment be against my record. But to think that you would have me over a barrel, that would never happen. I don't care about no contract. If some dirt come up in the game, I'll walk away from everything without batting my eye.
Without batting an eye. Listen, what is the possible probability that if your young son or daughter is around someone that is an older relative, that they won't be propositioned to use, won't be propositioned for other things? The probability is high that that will happen, so you must protect your children. You must protect your children. Your children will sing your praises, even if they complain when they're young, but they will see and will thank you for not allowing them to be scarred. Because once they are scarred, it's hard to get rid of an addiction. Once you are scarred, it's hard to not have it affect your mind where you need to have an addiction. It's hard for it not to affect you where you don't need to talk about it. Just ask Jack Wright for an example. Let's continue.
And not only is heroin highly addictive, it's also extremely hazardous to users. So as heroin becomes more popular, there are more heroin-related deaths, especially ones caused by an overdose. An overdose occurs when more heroin is used than the body can handle. But what exactly happens during an overdose? Why is it so dangerous? Well, it's all because of how heroin affects the central nervous system.
I should like to devote the next two periods to a discussion of deaths from narcotic addiction, the incidence of which has increased tremendously in the last few years, and which also has increased greatly in the younger age groups. There's some very bizarre cases, and I won't be able to go into all of them.
Heroin slows down the central nervous system and inhibits pain receptors, which creates a feeling of euphoria.
Now, the first one that I'm showing here is a body of a man about 35 who died from an overdose of narcotic, and you can see that his forearm is not on the floor of this elevator. This body has been dragged into an elevator in this apartment house, which had seen better days. This man evidently died in one of the rooms in this apartment house, and the body was then pulled into the elevator. But it must have been dead for some time in the other location, because the rigor mortis here is completely developed and is in a position which the body could not assume after death.
Breathing and heart rate slow down in response to the depression. This can cause heroin users to fall asleep. While sleeping, lungs and heart rate slow even further. Oxygen levels drop. The body essentially forgets that it's supposed to be breathing. Victims then die from lack of oxygen in their body. The first 3 minutes are the most important for someone who is overdosing. In the first 3 minutes without breathing, if someone is resuscitated, they can hope to walk away unscathed.
Now here's another bizarre case of an addict found seated on the steps of between floors of a tenement house. The legs are contorted under him, the shirt is opened, and he has a wad of paper toweling in his mouth, pushed way down. When these people die, they develop a very severe and copious acute pulmonary edema, and they froth at the mouth. And other persons who are with them try to correct this situation by using Kleenex and various types of paper toweling, and sometimes in their efforts to help, they actually assist in making the process irreversible, if it wasn't that to start with.
But after 3 minutes, that hope diminishes. After 5 to 10 minutes of not breathing, severe, permanent brain damage takes effect. So even if someone survives the overdose, they can be permanently disabled. So how do you know if someone is having an overdose? There are several signs that someone is overdosing. The most common are slow, shallow breathing, or not breathing at all, bluish skin and lips and blue nails, weak pulse, and small pinpoint pupils.
Now here's an addict who died in bed. The apparatus is on the bed alongside of him, and evidently he suffered an overdose, and the apartment is the scene is just as it was when he died. And this happens to have belonged to a well-to-do addict who had an inexhaustible supply of money to spend on this, and he lived in a hovel in a very bare room down around the Bowery, and had many people waiting on him because he had money not only to keep himself in drugs, but to keep a lot of other people in drugs. This cloisonné medicine box is filled with pure amphetamine, and this is one of the syringes that they use, the needles and so on.
While heroin is dangerous on its own, it's more dangerous in the presence of other drugs. Even someone with a high tolerance to heroin and other opioids can die from what is called polydrug use. Many people have heard the term speedballing. This is a mixture created by combining heroin with a stimulant like cocaine.
He was also addicted to marijuana. This bag of marijuana weighed about 10 pounds, and you could see what that would be worth in the open market after being made into used as pot by the people who use it.
This combo is incredibly euphoric, but it's also incredibly lethal. And deadly combinations don't have to be so intense. Just having a few beers in combination with heroin can cause an overdose. This contributes to why so many experienced heroin users have overdoses. They feel comfortable with the amount of heroin they use, but the high isn't as dramatic as when they first started. They look to drinking or using other drugs to get a better high, which can cause more damage than using heroin alone.
And the next slide is one that shows the appearance of a young person who has died from an overdose of narcotic. Pulmonary edema develops very acutely, and the edematous fluid, the frothy fluid, oozes out of the mouth and the nostrils, and it almost has the appearance of a freshly drowned body. There's tremendous congestion and edema that comes on very suddenly, and these people die with that finding not infrequently. Now, of course, if that's wiped away a number of times, it won't reform, but if you have a chance to see the body undisturbed, this is not an uncommon sight.
Not an uncommon sight, right? So this is the pain reliever heroin, right? You know, same thing, meth, amphetamine, what is that, fentanyl, right? So when I saw this as a kid, I mean, it wasn't this exact film, but when I saw this, I said, hey, just say no. That's right, just say no. You know, this is your brain on drugs, and I don't want to choke and do all that. So look, what is the possibilities and probabilities? You see, my sister had a strong anchor at home, a strong home life. There are people who don't have strong home lives, but they have to find in themselves the strength and the fortitude to say, nah. Listen, I have often been the disagreeable bandmate. I have often been the disagreeable bandmate. Because you're not gonna just tell me just anything. I've had people who got upset with me. I remember I had this one group I was producing early on. I mean, this continues to happen because I am the disagreeable bandmate, because what you are saying to me doesn't make sense. I had this one group of people telling me, well, we're going to see you at the Grammys. And they were talking about, we want the DAT tape. I say, you don't get the DAT tape. I say, whoever owns the master is the master. And so I'm owning all that, right? And he said, we're going to see you at the Grammy. I saw him later, pain relievers later. I said, wow, ain't that something? I'm just not the agreeable bandmate. I'm just not going to be the agreeable bandmate. Oh, you smoke? Oh, you going on over there and do that? I'll see you in a bit. I love myself too much for that. You understand what I'm saying to you? He said he had 10 pounds of weed. He was addicted to weed. People are addicted to weed. Don't think that you aren't. That's a denial. That's a denial. And many times when that high does not high anymore and you have to extend through all the different strands and it doesn't get you, You need something else. You need a pain reliever. And we're not talking about Bufferin, Tylenol, ibuprofen, Aleve, or Midol. We're talking about something that will get you there and give you the illusion of being in relief, but it will shut down your respiratory system. Did you get into the music industry to have to take pain relievers to relieve your pain while you're supposedly giving joy to people through your talent? Part 2. Possibilities and probabilities. The disagreeable bandmate. Most people like the way I am. I don't say everything that I do. You know what I'm saying? I don't let everybody know. But you see this? This is my platinum plat. You understand? I help sell so many of these records in my record store day. Right? This is my platinum plat issued by the RIAA. Right? I don't put those things up, but I don't put those things up too often. But when I say something to someone, I obviously know how to sell records. If I give a suggestion, I know how to do it, but I don't wear it on my sleeve and I don't say. I see people who have organizations and it took a whole organization to get this, a whole bunch of people in an organization, and they're proud to have that up there under that organizational name. This is under I made an organization and it's under my name. You see? So when we're coming here and bringing you and disseminating information, it is information being brought to you by people who have experience and who have lived at a high level, but yet we don't wear it on our sleeves because we don't suffer from low self-esteem. So that's why there's no pain relievers. Because when I saw that movie, second grade, I mean, I'm surprised. Everybody had good constitutes because nobody was upchucking because they showed you the throat and the neck expanding, the eyes bulging. I mean, way worse than what we just showed you. That's a lightweight. But you saw the little stuff in the dude's mouth and coming out his nose. Who wants to end like that? You've been given life to live for your 70 score plus, and you would end it in such arrogance to think that you will be invincible for something that has taken other people out just to entertain. We told you this story today so that you would have reference, so that when you watch this, you say, oh, when they come up and say that, hey man, you know, that's going to get me addicted on something. We're going to do something else, or we're going to shut down for a month and get this underway. So I'm not going to be pressured. I'm not going to do that. Because if you do, and you don't have that strong family foundation, you will go the way of so many. Billy. You'll go the way of Billy. Lady Day, you'll go her way. You'll go the way of Whitney. You'll go her way. You'll go the way of Bobby Christina. You'll go her way. Just go through all the people. You'll go their way. Right? The possibilities of getting hooked is high, and the probabilities that you will die young is very incredibly high. But you know what's even worse than dying young is suffering as an addict. Oh, being a functional addict.
Let me say something.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to bring you in. I was getting ready to say, but whew, I'm telling you, this is a high-powered episode today. I mean, a lot of information disseminated, true life stories, and part 3 tomorrow as we go through some things to look out for while you're in the business of show, the business of music.
You know, we were fortunate. We often talk about our parents, but now some of you are past that point. You're an adult. You're out there on your own, but you can develop this constitution for yourself. You have to live life in dualities, because there are some things where I always question myself. I say, well, like when I was at Berkeley, there was a brother there. He had holes in his shoes because he was not going to work a part-time job or a full-time job or nothing while he was in school. His whole thing was the music, the music, the music. And though I have the passion for the music, I have other gifts. That's not just music. You know, I write, and I also speak. So it's not just the music, but an education in a trade or an education in something else other than that is something that you're going to need to have, because you want to be able to write your own ticket. Keep this in mind. You want to be able to write your own ticket, and you want to be able to get yourself out from under the feet of people where you are subservient to nobody. You do what you want to do. You make the decisions you want to make. If you want to take a gig, you can take it. If you don't want to take it, you don't have to take it. So I spent time positioning myself to be able to call my shots. I really don't particularly like being told what to do. But when I am a subordinate, I function in the position of a subordinate within reason. You understand? If I'm working for a corporation, working for a company, I'm going to do what I'm hired to do, and I'm functioning as a subordinate, though I don't like being told what to do. I'm always the type of person that's supervisor and management stuff, you know, and usually I rise to that in those organizations. But I found a certain level of ineptness mentally with a lot of people that were over me, and I decided I did not want to end my life retiring from anywhere where I got to deal with substandard mental capacities that think there's something that they're not. That's important to me. So I position myself where I could come off a traditional 9-to-5 and do all my work from home. I don't have to be bothered, right? I position myself for that. So if you want to position yourself to be able to call your shots in this industry, you're going to have to develop some personal boundaries for yourself. Drugs are a no-no. Picking up women and men on the gig is a no-no. You're working. You don't have time to entertain. You didn't already did your entertainment time on the stage. Ain't no time to entertain after the entertainment. Okay? You're gonna have to develop some fortitude. You're gonna have to develop some things and some worthiness. It's like peeling back the layer of an onion to put things in place that you don't naturally have, but you're gonna have to develop these things. Listen, man, it's only so much butt out there, all right? And it's all going, and take the kids out the room. It's all going to feel the same because of the friction. You're going to bust anyway. It doesn't matter which one. It just all has a different face. So stop doing that. Stop doing that. You're risking pregnancies, STDs, and you're taking away, you're lessening your trade value. I mean, you're lessening yourself as an individual, throwing your body around, thinking you macking or maxtress. You know, you're throwing your body around and you're lessening your own value. Because when it comes to a person that's upstanding who wants to marry somebody, they don't want to marry somebody that's been community property. All right? So you're going to have to live life in parallels. You got to think about what's going to happen when the music stops. When the music stops, who are you? When the music stops, before the music begins, who are you? Because whoever you are is who comes to that table of contracts. Whoever you are is going to settle. If you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for any and everything. And we have this saying, the whole world is a stage. The whole world is a stage for people who like to act, for people who like to wear masks, for people who are not being genuine. The world is a stage. My world is a landscape. So you're going to have to make up your mind. If you listen, this is a new breed. This is the reason why I learned years ago. I knew years ago the industry was going to suffer a paradigm shift. It was going to be turned upside down. The exposures of Jaguar Wright and the things that she went through and the things that she's going after this stuff at the risk of her life. She got a $500,000 price tag on her head, allegedly, for the stuff that she's putting out. Now, who do you suppose got that price tag out there? Only so many people can afford to pay that. So that would have to be executives who have that price tag out there, because it's affecting their business now. But it's got to flip, because these are our gifts that God gave us. And people got the mitigated gall to pimp us for them, get us strung out on drugs so that we can keep on, functioning as the marionette, get you all hooked on all kinds of stuff. They don't care about you. Michael Jackson told you they don't really care about us. He told you that. And then they proved it to him. So what are you going to do? We're trying to share things with you, the same thing we did with every other subject and topic that we've been on for the past couple of months. We are trying to educate you to put you in a better position, but you have to have the mind to listen and to apply. The scripture says a fool despises wisdom. And if you cannot hear it, and if you cannot endure sound doctrine, if you cannot endure sound teaching and sound reasoning for the price of fame, some people are addicted to fame. Some people are addicted to fortune. You're addicted in one way or another. Anytime you say, I can't stop doing this, I can't stop, it's not a matter of can or can't, it's a matter of will or won't. That is the matter. Will or won't. It's a matter of will. So if you don't have any kind of boundaries or any kind of things set with you, don't you know they know that when you come to that table? They know before they sit to develop a contract with you, they've had conversation with you. When they have conversation, there's certain key words and trigger phrasing that they use. They know, depending on your reaction and your yay or nay, whether you're going to be amicable to certain situations, and they're going to push that envelope as far as they can push it to get as much as they can get for the least amount of giving back as they can. So if you have no boundaries and no constitution within, you just a sitting duck, and you'll look up and you'll fall for anything. Your thing might not be drugs. It might be sex. It may not be sex. It may be any other level of indulgences. Maybe it's just plain old pride. You like the fact of being up top and being on top and being able to say, I have this and I have that. Pride goeth before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. And it happens every time. That is a scripture that never does not fulfill itself. It always does. It always does. Ego and pride will take you down before anything else.
Taking a regular new mind frame. I'm catching a migraine. My brain strange like a J, the lyrical shooter, J for J.
All right, people. So as we close out, right? We close out, let you know. This was part 2, possibilities and probabilities. The disagreeable bandmate. But was it really the disagreeable bandmate? Or is it part 3 tomorrow? Possibilities and probabilities, the disagreeable people. Disagreeable people in this game that we see here. It's called the business of music, the business of show. And like we told you yesterday, it's good to have your own your masters, own all that, so that you can go and say, hey, there's no killing what can't be killed, right? Right? And then you can go right over to Apple Music and download these joints. Or Google Music or your favorite music provider. You can go download these, right? So this is what it is, people. We're stressing being independent, and you will always be able to win as an independent. But if so, make sure that you do not fall into the problem. It's better to be the disagreeable bandmate than to be the agreeable addict, right? It's better to be the disagreeable bandmate than to be the agreeable addict. People, we have enjoyed bringing this to you today, bringing you these perspectives, our opinions, our observations on observations, hashtag ObservationTFR podcast, episode 45 by Crazy D with my special guest host, my sister Tanya M. Congress. We come on Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Tune in on the Film Review Live channel. Make sure you go there, press subscribe, press like on this episode, and subscribe and share this out to your people. Tag your people in it. We bring the information that you need to know to help you move forward, so you have your mind state and not a mind set on that constant wheel, right? We appreciate you, man. On Sundays, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern is hashtag TFR Podcast Live, the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast. And we got a lot of great things coming up. Make sure you go to $TFR Podcast Live on Cash App and drop a few dollars there. We appreciate you. We make sure we bring you quality programming to show you how much quality programming to show you how we appreciate you. It's just the hip hop way in me to be greater than what I did last time. And so that's what it is, people. So we appreciate you. And this has been episode number 45. Can you believe it? Already episode 45. That is 90 hours. Because it's 2 hours a show. 90 hours. We appreciate you taking the time to watch us, and we love bringing this information to you. So stay tuned, because we're never on that hamster wheel. We're constantly moving forward. We will see you tomorrow with part 3, possibilities and probabilities, disagreeable people, on episode 46 of hashtag ObservationTFR by Crazy D with my special guest host, Tanya M. Congress. We'll see you again tomorrow.